All right, good evening. Welcome to the August 13th meeting of the Nixa City Council. Call the meeting to order.
Kelly Morris.
Here.
Matt Ogden.
Here.
Sean Lucas.
Here.
Aaron Peterson.
Here.
Darlene Graham.
Here.
Søren Vess.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Was that perfect. Okay. We're actually starting out with some pretty cool awards. And actually, I was going to see if Mr. Chappelle wouldn't mind coming up and kind of giving us an overview of what they did and what the program is all about. I don't know if you were planning on speaking, but up here, please.
The Federal Junior Duck Stamp Program is a program started by the Conservation Department in Washington, D.C., where they recognize all young budding artists and conservation people among the youth. And we've been fortunate for the last 2 years. We've won the Best of Show in the art program, and they have to explain on their application. Of course, their pictures are judged by age groups, first, second, and third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth, and 10th, 11th, and 12th. And we were fortunate enough to have Maddie win her division, fourth, fifth, and sixth as a fourth grader, and Vivian won hers as a 17-year-old junior at Nixa High School. And she won Best of Show where went to Washington, D.C., where she finished 14th among 62 from the statewide area and also the territories, Guam and so forth. But it's a very good program for young people to learn conservation, learn wildlife, and it's just, and I've been fortunate enough to have these two young people to develop their skills as an artist, but also as a conservationist. Good enough?
That's perfect, thank you. And I've also been told that they probably couldn't have done all this without you, so thank you very much. First up, we'll start with Maddie. It says that it took her 1 year to complete the process. I struggle to work on something for 5 minutes. I couldn't imagine working on something for an entire year. That's pretty awesome. And you're going into 5th grade at Inman, correct? Well, that's awesome. I imagine they're pretty happy getting a good artist like yourself. So. And I would like to, once we get through this, go on our wonderful backdrop over there, and you and your family we can all take a picture together, so we can throw it up here at City Hall or something. So congratulations on that. That's absolutely amazing. And then the other would be Vivian, who's going to be a senior, I believe, at Nixa High School. Took 7 months to work on yours. Again, that's amazing. And yours is the one that went to D.C., correct? Yes. Well, it's pretty good to see something positive actually happening in D.C. for once. So, thank you. So yeah, we can meet over at the sign real quick, take everyone's picture, but congratulations.
I want to see the pictures.
Do they have anything to present?
And for a fourth grader, I think it's pretty darn good.
It is good. For any, I can't draw stick people. This is great. Yeah, Mom, get a picture.
Well, now there's the Bass Pro Shop. And we'll be, all the wildlife refuges in Missouri for the next 12 months. They'll be on this.
Wow.
None taken, don't worry. Yep. And now we will open the visitors section. Jeff, you got anything? You good? Okay. All right, we're good then. All right, now we'll close the visitor section. All right. Moving on to first reading ordinances. First up is Council Bill 2024-23.
First reading Council Bill number 2024-23, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa establishing and levying taxes on real property in the city for the 2024 tax year. Mayor and Council, this is our annual ordinance to set the real estate tax for 2024. The deadline for final certification to the county clerk is August 30th. The anticipated levy for 2024 is .2981, which is the same rate as last year. If approved by the August 27th council meeting, I'll send all required documents needed to establish the tax rate to the county clerk. Staff recommends approval.
Any questions? All right, thank you. No other questions. I will open up the public hearing. I will close the public hearing. Nothing else from council. Moving on, Council Bill 2024-24.
First reading Council Bill number 2024-24, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the city administrator to execute a cost appropriation agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission. Presenting is Street Superintendent Jeff Russell.
Mayor and council, good evening. We're still working on Main Street, trying to get it to where we can actually get it constructed. There's a few more steps that we have to do. The agreement that we've presented to you tonight is an agreement that will allow the Missouri Highway Transportation Department to administer federal funds and local funds that the city has set aside for this project. This assistance will allow in bid awards, contract administration, and award to the winning contractor. If this is agreed on by council in the next meeting, this will save staff a great deal of time and effort throughout this whole process. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
No other questions. I will open up the public hearing. And I will close the public hearing. Nothing else. Moving on. Council Bill 2024-25.
First reading Council Bill number 2024-25, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the city administrator to execute a water line pole attachment agreement with Ozark Fiber II LLC. Presenting is Assistant City Administrator and Public Works Director Doug Colvin.
Mayor and council, representatives from Ozark Fiber approached city staff several months ago and proposed their intent to build an fiber to the home network. Their plan was to start with the interior part of this community and use overhead and use our poles. And so that was the reason for them to come to us, was to request the use of our poles. Since staff already had a generic pole attachment agreement in place, which was done by the Missouri Public Utility Alliance a number of years ago, several of the cities at Missouri Public Utility Alliance, including Nixa, we kind of supported that project. So we would have a kind of a boilerplate agreement that met all the FCC rules that we could all use together. And so we would standardize. And so these companies like Ozark Fiber, AT&T, anybody else, they'll have a standardized agreements across communities, and we're all doing the same thing. And so we were in hopes it would make it a lot easier. And so this is our first chance to use it, actually. But anyway, that's the agreement you're asked to consider this evening, is a slightly modified version of that. And it's slightly modified because we've inserted the name, we've inserted the pole attachment cost and that type of thing. It sets certain standards to protect our infrastructure, and also the rates to be charged annually for pole attachments, as well as to handle situations such as who's responsible for upgrading a pole if it's necessary. That would be in the case of there's already enough wires up there that the pole's at its maximum. It's at its maximum for strength ability, and if you hang more stuff on it, we're going to have to put a beefier pole in place for them to do that. And so, that's what we call make ready, and so they would have to. We'll work together to do the make ready, whether it's a certified contractor, whether it's us. Sometimes it's us wanting to change out a pole, and so they'll get on it at the same time, and it's to our advantage to do it. But this will lay all that out. We already have formulas set in place for the fees. Per the FCC, we have a formula that was developed, and it can be changed every year. We'll look at it every year and to make sure that we're covering our cost for a portion of the pole. They're not paying, obviously, for the entire pole. They're just paying for a portion of a foot of the pole. So our rate for 2024 is $11.14, which is very reasonable, I think. Finally, the agreement includes procedures for violation notices, maximum time frames for the company to respond for concerns or system issues that we may have that need repaired. And it also allows for the city to force corrections, or at least the financial responsibility to correct them. So in other words, you've probably seen around town where we have moved our stuff over onto a new pole, but there's still an old pole sitting right beside it that needs to come down, and it's waiting on one of the other carriers to get over onto our pole so it can be pulled and just clean things up. This type of situation in the old agreements we have with like AT&T, we don't have the teeth to actually make them do anything. This particular case, from here on, we will. So Ozark Fiber has reviewed and approved the agreement already, and staff recommends passage of the bill, and we'll bring it back to you at the next meeting with that recommendation. I can answer any questions you might have.
What kind of service are they going to provide to the city?
They are going to be providing a fiber to the home network, but it's just basically they're going to start with the above ground. In other words, the middle part of town where it actually takes fiber internet straight to the home,
Okay.
or takes fiber.
Any other questions? One of the goals for this is when you have mainly two main fiber providers within the city, they don't have to be very competitive. Customer service doesn't have to be the best, and price doesn't either. So, these people seem to be, I actually know one of the people that works there, and I know of the company, and they seem to be very good. I think that'll be a good addition to the city for sure. And appreciate all your guys' work on this. I know it's taken quite some time.
Yeah, it takes a little time. I have talked to Richard Shockley, who's my peer in Lebanon. The same with Skip Schaller in Monette. They've done the exact same agreement. Said they were very, very good to work with. Anything they ever, if they had some questions or needed them to change up something, they were real good to work with. So I'm kind of looking forward to working with somebody like that.
Perfect. Any other questions? All right. I will open up the public hearing. And I will close the public hearing. Nothing further. Moving on, first reading Council Bill 2024-26.
First reading Council Bill number 2024-26, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa declaring the necessity of acquiring by condemnation certain property rights over, under, and through certain real estate for the purpose of construction and maintaining street improvements on North Main Street, generally located between Tracker Road and State Highway CC, and authorizing certain city officials to do all things necessary and convenient to carry out the terms and intent of this ordinance. Presenting is Assistant City Administrator and Public Works Director Doug Colvin.
As Mr. Russell just mentioned, we've been working hard to get Main Street done, and we're on a tight timeline with that because MoDOT is also doing their traffic circle or roundabout at that same intersection. And so we're on a tight timeline to get everything ready so the bidding can go out and the construction can actually happen. In this particular case, we're responsible to get easements and right-of-ways to construct the project. City personnel, we follow very strict requirements to acquire property, whether it's in the form of right-of-way or easements, including temporaries. These were established years ago, and they're not only to meet federal funding requirements, but they're just to be fair and honest acquisition when we have the necessity for private property and we need to pay for that. Staff takes the policies very seriously and follows every step to assure fair compensation for property owners while still being good stewards for taxpayer funds. Upon approval of construction right-of-way plans by MoDOT, staff enlisted services of a Missouri licensed appraiser, that was Southwest Valuation, to determine the value for the needed property and easements for the project. From there, Mr. Russell, he forwards that information along with specific letter as an offer to the property owners and offers to meet with them, talk to them on the phone, whatever they want to do, to work that out so they understand what we're trying to do. There have been times where we actually go out and stake, have the surveyor stake what we're actually talking about so they can visually see it. So he works very hard to do that. Currently, I think 3 have been secured, I think, as of today. 1 we've got committed verbally, and negotiations continue on the others, although there are a few out there that have, for the most part, not really wanting to do anything at all. In the case of the properties identified in the ordinance for this request, staff, there are more there than, some of like the one that's even committed verbally is actually in this list, but this has just recently happened. We can negotiate right up until we file the actual condemnation in the court, so we can work it out. Hopefully that's what we try to shoot for, is to try to get that that way. With the few right-of-way and easements we have left that are necessary for the projects, we've got some obtained. We need to meet these specific timelines. Staff is recommending approval of the ordinance, which would authorize us to do condemnation for those last needed easements or right-of-way. It's our intention to bring this back to you at the next meeting for a final consideration. And as always, we're here to answer any questions you might have.
These properties are all just pertaining to our part of this project along Main Street and not associated with the roundabout?
No.
Correct.
Yes, they're not associated with the roundabout. Sorry, I about said that backwards. Yes, sir. MoDOT is doing their own with the right-of-way. Now, it so happens that we're both working with one property owner in one case where they have part of it and we have part of it. But yes, ours are just for us. MoDOT's is for themselves. So.
And what was our timeline again that we have to?
Well, I know the bid letting is scheduled for November. I think it's been September 1st is our deadline. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
So to keep it moving. What we don't want to do is not get to the point where, we haven't hit one of those targets, because if we do, we're going to wind up end up not having the funding and have to cancel our piece of it. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Colvin. No other questions. I will open up the public hearing. And I will close the public hearing. Nothing else. Moving on, second reading, Council Bill 2024-21.
Second reading Council Bill Number 2024-21, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa amending the 2024 annual budget in the amount of $100,000 and authorizing the city administrator to apply for and accept certain grant funding in the amount of $50,000 for the purpose of funding the removal of trees affected by the emerald ash borer. Presenting is Assistant City Administrator and Public Works Director Doug Culp.
As we talked about July 22nd, we got a team of folks that came up with an idea to do a grant for some funding, some deed funding through the American Public Power Association. This is to develop a program of removing trees, some not necessarily within our easements, through a program where we would work with property owners to maybe replace those trees. Sorry. Thank you. As well as doing some treatment of some that aren't as bad to see if they can be saved. So staff's worked really hard to put together this grant application. What the grant application would be is if it's awarded, they would provide us $50,000. We would use $50,000. Some of that $50,000 can even be in-kind match. Up to 10%, so maybe for some of the labor and that type of thing we can use as a match. And then, which is the reason we need to have, or the reason we're requesting the $100,000 budget amendment, because it's a reimbursement grant. So we would actually spend it up front, similar to the way we do the road projects. And then once we prove that we've spent it, they reimburse us for it. So we have to be able to spend the whole amount. Now, provided we're successful in getting the grant, we'll get started. I think it's a 2-year program, Chris, isn't that what it is? It's a 2-year program. They're going to be working on this. One of the things they're going to be doing as they're working on it is part of APPA's research and development grant projects. So they're going to be documenting everything so they can share this with other utilities across the United States. And maybe some of those folks can also use the same type of treatments or things that we're using at their utilities. So if we don't get the grant, we're not going to spend the $100,000 that you would amend the budget for. We'll just leave it there and we'll keep on going like we're going. So that's our plan for that. Although from what I've read in their grant application, I think they stand a really good chance of getting it. So I'm pretty happy with it. So I recommend that this be passed, and if we have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. All right. No other questions? I will open up the public hearing if you would like to speak on this. All right. I will close the public hearing. Anything else from council? Anything else from staff? All right. I will accept a motion.
I'll make the motion.
First by Mr. Ogden, second by Ms. Graham. Roll call, please.
Sean Lucas,
Yes.
Kelly Morris,
Yes.
Zern Bess,
Yes.
Matt Ogden,
Yes.
Aaron Peterson,
Yes.
Darlene Graham.
Yes.
Moving on, second reading, Council Bill 2024-22.
Second reading Council Bill Number 2024-22, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nixa amending Chapter 12, Article 2, and Chapter 2, Article 4, Section 2-151 of the Nixa City Code for the purpose of modifying the city's regulations related to business and solicitor's licenses. Presenting is City Attorney Nick Woodman.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. We had first reading of this bill at the July 22nd meeting. The scope of the bill is what the title indicates. We're attempting to amend the city code to clean up some of the provisions related to the city's business license and solicitor license regulations. We're adding some language to address the home-based business changes that came about from the General Assembly in this bill. And we're also adding some language to modify what we consider a prohibitive criminal convictions to make that a little bit more clear so it's a little bit more easier to enforce. Staff recommends approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have tonight about this item.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Woodman. All right. No other questions. I will open up the public hearing. No? Okay. I will close the public hearing. Nothing else from council or staff. I will accept the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
First by Mrs. Graham, second by Mr. Peterson. Roll call, please.
Zern Vest,
Yes.
Sean Lucas,
Yes.
Matt Ogden,
Yes.
Aaron Peterson,
Yes.
Darlene Graham.
Yes.
Kelly Morris.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right. Moving on to Resolution 2024-47.
Resolution number 2024-47, a resolution of the Council of the City of Nixa authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract in the amount not to exceed $19,000 with Robertson Associates Incorporated for appraisal review services. Presenting is Street Superintendent Jeff Russell.
Mayor and council. Part of the criteria for these federally funded projects like Main Street, what this one is for, is that we follow very strict rules with our appraisals. They actually provide a pre-approved list of appraisal companies or firms that we have to use. Part of this criteria for these funds also dictates that a appraisal review service be provided, and we also have to use that same predetermined list provided by MoDOT. Robertson Associates are on this list. They have been vendor verified by city staff, and it is staff's recommendation that we enter this agreement with them for this service for the amount not to exceed $19,000.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Rousseau. No other questions. I will open up the public hearing if you would like to speak on this. And I will close the public hearing. Nothing else from council. I will accept a motion.
I'll make the motion. Second.
First by Mr. Ogden, a second by Mr. Vess. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. And last, but certainly not least, Resolution 2024-48.
Resolution number 2024-48, a resolution of the Council of the City of Nixa acknowledging the Planning and Zoning Commission's adoption of the Nixa 2045 Planning Our Growth Plan as the city plan for the City of Nixa. Presenting is Planning and Development Director Scott Gobby.
Mayor, Council, good evening. Back in June of 2023, we entered into a contract with Olson Studio to go through the process of getting a new comprehensive plan, as our current or our previous one was originally adopted in 2003. Some of you participated in that process. It's been a long 13 months, roughly 13 months. We had lots of interaction with the community. We had lots of interaction with our youth group, our business group, mainly the stakeholders, but we got a lot of great feedback through that. I feel like this new plan sets us up for where we could have debates on future land use. So I think that is great in order to have a good discussion on stuff rather than saying this is what this says, so you have to do that. It's good to have a little bit of debate in it. I'm not going to take up too much time since we have Shelby Ferguson from Olson Studio here. She's going to run through this PowerPoint, but state statute does allow or require that the Planning and Zoning Commission review and approve city plans, or in this case, a comprehensive plan. So this comprehensive plan, Nixa 2045, was approved by our Planning and Zoning Commission at our August meeting, which is on the first Monday of August. It was approved unanimously by the commission. So what we're requesting tonight is just a support from City Council showing that this is our new city plan. With that, I'll turn it over to Shelby. You may recognize her. She did a lot of our outreach for this process. So,
good evening, Mayor and Council. Just want to say first off, and also staff, very excited to be here with you this evening. A lot of familiar faces. As Scott said, you've probably seen me a lot, gotten emails from me, and just overall heard about the comprehensive plan process that we've done over the last 13 months. So just want to take a few minutes of your time this evening to just really kind of high level talk to you about the plan overall, our process, and ultimately what Planning Commission on August 5th really adopted. And like I said, or Scott said, I'm just looking for your support this evening. So really, over the course of the last 13 months, but really in the bulk of it, we started engagement in the fall of last year. And so with that, we engaged in several ways, in person, online, a pop-up event, and things like that. And so just a quick recap of what that is. So we really started off with a postcard that you received in the mail. Every resident within Nixa received that postcard if they have a mailing address with the city. And so that really kicked off and allowed individuals to know that the process was starting and how they could get involved. It drove them to the project website, where ultimately we had, which was located within the city's website also, but it was a dedicated page to Nixa 2045. And within that housed the public survey, and that was really truly our first engagement effort. And so we pushed out a community survey, really getting an understanding of and how we would move forward the vision for every resident who responded to that. And so with a big push and help of our stakeholder group, we were able to receive 1,949 responses to that survey. That was in a 2-month time frame, but ultimately a lot of those, your community is very involved and very vocal. And so a lot of those responses were within the first couple of weeks. And so we were very impressed with that. And also it gave us a lot of meat to really start to dive in and understand your community and how to move forward. Then we formed a stakeholder committee and a technical committee. And so those individuals were made up, the stakeholder committee is made up of vested stakeholders within Nixa that were identified by staff. And then the technical committee made up of members of staff who really helped be the sounding board on the technical aspect of it, as really they're involved on the daily with pieces moving forward of development and just understanding how things are developing and growing within Nixa. And so they were our technical sounding board. So we got those two groups together 3 times. We hosted a visioning workshop, a planning and design charrette, and then a final review of the draft plan document. And so we engaged those individuals specifically in those instances, but then throughout the process as well to help them be the champions for the plan as well. Then we had, as you recall, 2 joint sessions with you all, City Council, and then the Planning and Zoning Commission, one earlier on at the beginning of the process, and then one later on to really look at the draft recommendations. We had several stakeholder meetings. Those were led by our economic and development analysis subconsultant. So he engaged with several members within the community to really get an understanding of where growth is needed, how things are moving forward just in terms of economic development. We also engaged with the youth within your community, and so we went to the high school and engaged a group of about 20 high school students and really held them accountable for how do they want to see Nixa move forward. What will help them stay here in Nixa, or what will make them come back after they move away or for college, or whatever that takes them away from Nixa, what would bring them back to Nixa. And so we engaged that group with a visioning workshop as well. We did the same thing with our business and development committee and walked them through that visioning workshop. Then we attended the pop-up event, which we hosted a booth at Nixpo. And so there we showed really preliminary concepts and draft recommendations. And so for everyone that stopped by our booth, we spoke with them, got their feedback, and really informed them of where we're seeing the growth of Nixa move forward over the next 20 years. And then we hosted a virtual open house where everything that was shown at the pop-up event and also at at the charrette process. That was all online and available for individuals to comment and participate in as well. And then just last month, we hosted the final plan public review. So that was a time when the entire plan was online, and anyone in the public, as well as staff and others, could review and comment on the plan then. So that was a big push of just our engagement efforts and how we continually engaged over the course of the last 13 months. Ultimately, the plan has this more pyramid structure. We have a vision statement, and then we have our core value statements. What we truly see this is it's works from the bottom up, and so ultimately to attain the vision for where we see Nixa in the next 20 years, we work from the bottom up, looking at implementation, so looking at short-term and long-term action steps and how do you move those forward into the strategies, which then ultimately you will achieve your goals, which then hit on and resonate with the core value statements as these more functional areas, the topical pieces of the plan, and how do you then ultimately get to that vision for Nixa. And so what the vision statement is for Nixa in the plan is Nixa is a welcoming community, embracing its unwavering commitment to a high quality of life that creates a nurturing environment for its families and fosters a sense of belonging. Through collaboration and forward-thinking initiatives, we aim to provide a mix of economic development opportunities, a variety of housing options, and a safe city for all. So ultimately, at the very forefront, this is what the comprehensive plan is going to lead and guide staff and yourselves and the Planning Commission to move forward to over the next 20 years. And then the rest of the plan is set up to really support and guide you to this vision. And so through that, there's several sections. I'll go through these fairly quickly, but we've got the land use and development framework. This is what really houses and guides the location, type, and character of future land uses for the city of Nixa. And it really sets that guide for city leaders as yourselves and stakeholders, also allows developers to understand what the true uses are and what that vision is in terms of that mix for land use. As Scott said, this is something that your existing comprehensive plan lacks. It more focuses on zoning. And so with a future land use map, what this really truly does is allows you to have that more flexibility when it comes to development review and having those conversations of how do you grow and develop and what specific uses, and then in return, what zoning is within each of these uses. So again, future land use is different than zoning in the fact that it is not regulatory. It truly is focused on what is the highest and best use for that specific area. So then we looked at growth areas. So this really starts to follow and mimic the future land use map, looking at areas that proposed annexation are in the darker green. So looking at expanding out more past and into your tier 1, your urbanized area, but also then filling in those holes that you have within your current city limits and trying to close that loop is something that we've really looked at moving forward with. Then the next section is looking at connectivity within Nixa. And so what this really does is provides a guidance just in terms of future transportation and mobility within Nixa. It gives you a balanced network looking at sidewalk improvements, intersection improvements, as well as roadway connections and extensions. And so ultimately what this section does is helps look at that long-term vision of how well Nixa is connected, not only within your city limits, but how do you start to become connected regionally as well to north to Springfield and further south as well. So that's that section. And then we move on to community aesthetics and framework. This really starts to look at how do you envision your community in terms of visual identity, the sense of place, the sense of community. And this is done through streetscaping and gateways. And so really looking at, as you grow over time, how do you create that more welcoming and vibrant community, not only throughout the community, but on your main corridors. And so that's what this section does more specifically. Then we have an added section, which is the economic development strategy. So our consultant helped to prepare this. And what it really does is starts to look at how you can be fiscally responsible when facing rapid growth. And so it outlines several strategies and goals for how do you move forward looking at economic development. The staff worked very closely with Show Me Christian as they reviewed this section to collaborate and make sure that we were working with just regionally on what efforts and initiatives needed to take place within this section as well. And then the implementation section really houses all of the recommendations from each of the sections. It houses them all into one place. It really starts to identify the very specific decision-making tools, the strategies of how do you move this plan forward. And just ultimately, as I mentioned, as you start to check off the sections within that part of the plan, you ultimately then are going to be attaining your goals, which then you're getting to the vision of Nixa 2045. So with that, I'll leave it open for any questions. I know that was very quick too, so.
Any questions?
Or hopefully it was quick. No one's asleep, right?
No.
Okay.
That's perfect.
I would like to say thank you, though. It's been quite the process. And also thank you for dealing with me during my bad times, too, because I know it might have been hard to work with at some moments, so.
It's fine, not a problem. It's really truly been, I don't want to say, the only word I can think of right now is a joy, but it really truly has been a great experience to work with you all, and especially you, Mayor. You've kept me on my feet, and it's just been really great to see individual staff included who are so invested in your community, and just also stakeholders and public who've really wanted to be within the process.
Yeah, we definitely had a good group, and it was actually pretty cool at the Nixa High School graduation to see all of the kids who were involved in the process, like all the additional awards and recognition they got during graduation. So there were
Yes.
some really good people in
They
that
were a
room.
very
And
impressive
they were,
group.
yeah, very impressive. So, but yeah, thank you very much. I don't
Thank you.
think anyone has any plans,
Okay.
and I'm sure you guys read every page, correct?
Hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you. I can't believe it's done.
It's been quite the process,
Yeah.
but I'm very, very pleased with the end product. Very thankful to, Shelby and her staff. They did a fantastic job, especially involving the public. I think that was key to making this plan a success. So very, very pleased. Yep. And we are finally done.
Yes. Oh, yeah, and thank you, Scott, too.
Yes, got to.
You did some stuff. Appreciate it. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, guess I'll open up the public hearing if anyone would like to speak. Fair enough. I will close the public hearing. If nothing else, I will. Yes, ma'am.
Cindy Robbins has a birthday tomorrow.
Okay. Well, that's. We'll get to that here in a second.
I'll make a motion.
I will accept the motion.
I'll make the motion.
We got a first by Mr. Lucas, a second by Mr. Vess. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Now let's talk about Cindy's birthday.
Well, today is Scott's 40th.
You want to sing? You can sing to her.
It's,
Wait.
it's Matt's birthday also.
Matt. Yeah, Matt's 40 today, by the
Matt's
way.
birthday right now.
Happy birthday, Matt.
Thank you. You didn't get cake or nothing? Do what?
Happy birthday.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And it's just a big day all around.
It's a big week.
I guess I'll have to come by. I wasn't planning on it.
What anniversary?
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. Okay, well, anything else from council outside of birthdays?
I do want to go ahead and make sure everybody's aware of it, but get on their calendar for the next multicultural festival that's coming up. This will be the third, and in true fashion, Cindy's growing it, along with a lot of help with some staff. Sorry, Becca and everybody, but it's something that we love the city getting behind, and I think a lot of people are getting behind it. It's getting moved over to Macaulay Park. So we're going to do it September 21st, and from 3 to 7. That's a little bit later than last time? No? Yeah, a little shorter window. Yeah, but September 21st, a good Saturday from 3 to 7 at Macaulay Park. Matt's going to host a heck of a multicultural again at his big facility.
Yay, Becca.
Oh, no. But anyways, that's it.
I will say we've got 8 performers, so all of our performers are full, 8 food trucks, a lemonade truck, and 37 vendors. So it'll be a big event.
Wow, very well done. Still more vendors available? Because the trucks are done and the,
I'm keeping vendors open till Friday. We're gonna do a walkthrough, start marking off spaces so we know where everybody is going. So vendors will close Friday.
okay, cool.
Perfect.
We've got another Movies in the Park on the 24th. It'll be The Little Mermaid. The live action Little Mermaid. Yes, it does say live action.
Bring your mermaid.
Well, a lot to you, dog. Awesome.
So the mayor's going to be a mermaid?
Let's not go there.
I'm a merman.
Merman, let's not go there.
Okay.
It's a negative. Also like to thank everyone who came out to National Night Out. It was a really good turnout. A lot of people there. Really appreciated the misters because it was hot. So that was awesome. But no, it was very, very good turnout. Had a lot of fun. Anything else? Anything else from staff?
Mayor, Council, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to our new Director of Communications, Summer Rascal.
Yay. Yeah.
Come on up, Summer.
This is where you get to sing happy birthday to everybody.
Yeah. Summer started with us last Monday, so she's been getting familiar with everything and bringing Bud up to speed, and I told her she could talk tonight and either say she's enjoying it or hating it. We're not sure. We're going to see.
Well, Mayor, Council, thanks for having me. I just want to say that I'm happy to be here and I'm excited to serve, and I really look forward to helping the city and all of you with any communication needs you have. So thank you.
Thank you. Did she get her computer yet?
We do have her computer finally.
Yay.
Computer and desk phone, so email and you can call the desk phone. So we're all set up.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, it's good to have you. Thank you. All right. No? All right, nothing else. Meeting adjourned.